Okay, well, welcome everyone to our open house this evening. I'll let you know kind of the agenda we have planned. So, the Sweet Sobriety team's going to introduce ourselves. Then Molly's going to give us a guided tour of the platform. Then I'll introduce our special guest speaker, Victoria Hamma. So, Sweet Sobriety came about because Molly and I had a dream to kind of create this interactive online community of support for anyone struggling with disordered eating, eating disorders, and those who identify with food addiction. We wanted this to be a safe space for anyone who wants to improve their relationship with food, no matter where they are at on their current journey. We know from doing this for in our experience for a long time that we do recover better together. And we wanted to remove one of the biggest barriers to working with professionals in the food addiction field, which was the cost of accessing these services. So we wanted to be able to provide you with accessible skills, support, because we know and we believe that you can be radically in control of your food life. And you we want to help you build a life that you don't have to escape from with food. We also think it's important for you to choose your own path to recovery and that you can take your time in doing so. And that whatever path you choose, whether it's complete abstinence, harm reduction, or just eliminating added sugars, in this community, you'll be loved, respected, and supported along the journey. Because from what we know by working in the field, recovery is like a slow, beautiful, messy, unfolding process. So let's start off with introducing you to our Sweet Sobriety team. First, I'm going to introduce my incredible other half and co-founder, Molly Paintjob.
Hey guys, thanks, Clarissa. We do make a good team, I feel like we really do work well together, which is really nice for folks who come to our group coaching, especially when we're in the same group together, because you get a little bit of Clarissa's cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, a little bit of motivational interviewing from her, and then I use solution focused brief therapy stuff. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Molly Paintjob. I am a dual licensed mental health and addiction counselor in the state of Montana in the US. And I always tell people that for two reasons. One, because I want you to know and understand that I am licensed, meaning I have a master's degree in mental health counseling. I have extra training in addiction counseling. I have to, report to two licensing boards. I have to continue my education to make sure that I am up to, par with any of my state licensing requirements. I have ethical boards I have to respond to and report to. And I also let you guys know that because if you're ever working with me one-on-one or in a group, I will never do therapy with you unless you are physically in the state of Montana. So everything we do together will be coaching, and it's all based on, again, that solution-focused brief therapy technique, which is really just a language. It's a way of being really client-centered and getting at what works for you so that you can, like Clarissa said, build that life that you no longer want to escape from. And your answers are so individual to you and your needs are so individual to you that's really my passion, is to help you find your voice. What do you need? What do you want? And what works for you? So I will hand it over to Jennifer Bradley if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Molly. So my name is Jennifer Bradley. For those of you that don't know me, I'm really excited to be a part of this wonderful new community with Molly, Clarissa, and Bethany. I myself am an addict. I understand what it is like to have this disease of addiction. I just wanted to share a few things about my professional history so you got to know me a little bit better. I do have a degree in mental health and a degree in social work. I've had internships where I've worked with clients in both counseling and social service areas. I have training and I've been certified in the sugar assessment tool and holistic medicine addiction under Bitten Johnson. I also have training and have been certified in adolescent addiction motivational coaching. With Callie Estes, I've shadowed under Molly and Clarissa in their clinical audit. I also, some of you know this, have hold a weekly free support group meeting on Tuesdays where we discuss a variety of different topics. And then I have my own business coaching clients on their path to recovery. So with those clients I meet with, we do one-on-one, we do in-group settings, and as well as daily phone check-ins. So as far as my coaching technique, I use a motivational approach. So this is inspirational type of coaching where I help my clients reconnect with their sense of purpose, and where we discuss what problems they're facing, helping them set goals and making a plan to follow through to accomplish those goals, as well as provide them with accountability, understanding, and support. I'm just here to help as much as I can. I love that part of it. So thank you, Molly.
Right, Bethany.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bethany, and if you've ever looked at my last name and wondered how do I pronounce that, it's Mazaru, like kangaroo. Now you won't forget it. So I live in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. We are expecting a big dumping of snow on Thursday night, Friday, so that'll be fun. Like most people who work in this field, I have my own personal story of sugar and food addiction. If you want to hear the whole story, that's on the Sweet Sobriety YouTube channel. But really briefly, like I can remember sneaking food, eating more than my share, scheming how to get more, like from a really young age. We're talking like 5 or 6 years old. And then I've battled with my weight and my shape for more than 40 years. And it's been one thing that I thought I just couldn't figure out. So many areas of my life were great. But I felt like this was a huge hang up for me. And so I read all kinds of books and tried all kinds of diets. Some of them were really crazy. And each time I started one, it was with fresh hope, and I ended it in defeat. So learning about sugar and food addiction was really something like it was a key for me. But I've also learned that food is actually just one small part of the story. So it's kind of like I look at it like the tip of the iceberg. So that's the part that I could see and try and that's what was presenting. But as long as I was focused on only the food and only my weight, then I wasn't dealing with everything else that was underneath. So emotions, relationships, codependency, workaholism, perfectionism, all those fun things. So yeah, if you and I work together, you can expect that we're going to talk about more than the food for sure. We'll likely talk about habits and hangups and self-care, relationships and communication, boundaries and self-compassion. In my style, I really challenge you and hold you accountable, but I do that with lots of compassion and grace because let's face it, you've probably been pretty hard on yourself up until this point, and that's perhaps why you're seeking recovery. So I do love coaching people. I feel like I've been doing it all my life. But I've found that it's better to coach people who actually sign up for coaching instead of giving unsolicited advice to my family and friends. So that's part of why I'm here. And I really love helping people see things in a different light or remind them of why they're doing what they're doing when they get a little bit lost. And helping people get unstuck is one of my favorite things. I consider it a privilege and an honor to walk beside people on this journey. I'm also a registered social worker in Ontario. And one of the many reasons that I've chosen, there's lots of reasons I chose to work with Sweet Sobriety, but it's really Molly and Clarissa are definitely the real deal, and they authentically care about your well-being. And I don't think either of them has a fake bone in their body. And that kind of honesty with clients and with ourselves, that's a part of my own core values and something that Sweet Sobriety really encourages and embodies. So you'll never experience like a bait and switch or experience fluffy kinds of promotions here. We all walk the talk, and we try to keep learning how to help people achieve freedom and from sugar and from food addiction. So that's it for me. I'll come back to you now, Clarissa.
Yeah, thank you, Bethany. I love that. And yes, we do. We are always learning. We love learning as much as we love teaching. So I'm Clarissa Kennedy. I'm the other co-founder of Sweet Sobriety. I'm a registered clinical social worker. I have an additional diploma in addictions. I'm a member of the Ontario Association of Mental Health Professionals. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Food Junkies podcast. I've been working in the field of addictions for over 14 years with adolescents, adults, in a wide range of treatment settings. So, residential, outpatient, and private practice. I also have my own personal history of recovery from eating disorders, food addiction, prescription pills, and alcohol. So, no matter where you fit on the spectrum and whatever cross addiction you're dealing with, I see you. I've been you. And, today I live a life where I don't think about sugar. I'm not one bite away from a binge. I'm no longer in a situation where I have to be in recovery hypervigilance every day. I just recover in reality. And this is my new way of living. And this is what we want to share with you. I feel like working with my clients is and getting to see them grow and change is my favorite part of this process. I've worked with drugs and alcohol for many years, and the change I get to witness with people I work with in food addiction, they really do change their life. And I want you to know that is possible. I like to give people actionable tools to work with so that they can address their challenges. And so, with that, I do a wide variety of interventions, including cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, mindfulness based interventions, and motivational interviewing. And so, that is our sweet sobriety team. And now we'd like to show you our sweet sobriety platform. And Molly is our IT guru on the team. So she's going to walk us through a little demonstration, and then I will introduce our guest speaker.
Yeah. All right. So IT guru, I don't know if that's accurate, but we'll give it a shot here. So for any of you who have been to our website, when you first go to our website, this is what you'll see. Welcome to Sweet Sobriety. You're going to have a menu across the top. There's an About Us page where you can read more about, Clarissa and I, as like why we did this, and then Jennifer and Bethany as well. You can get some frequently asked questions answered. Things like, what is the membership commitment? What's the cancellation policy, refund policy, all of that. There's lots of information there. And of course, if your question is not there to be answered, just let us know. We have a resources page. It's not the prettiest right now, but just like Jennifer was saying that she hosts a free meeting on Tuesdays, Bethany and I take turns on Fridays. So those meetings are on here, as well as we have group members who have stepped up and they've decided that they also want to, in the name of service, host some meetings. So there are some other free meetings on Saturdays and Sundays. There we want to give you some access to 12-step meetings. And again, these are not exhaustive lists, but just to get you started, if you want some resources, some podcasts, of course, Food Junkies, Clarissa and I would be remiss if we didn't promote our podcast just a little. YouTube channels, again, our YouTube channel is there, along with some others that I think might be really helpful or useful, and then some self-help books. You can go to the all courses page. This does show up on the homepage, and it shows you what courses are currently available. So as you guys can see, our current live workshop, which will start January 7th, is with Jennifer. It's on cravings, and the material will start, it's on a drip schedule. So the materials will start coming to you December 31st. So just in time for New Year's Eve. That workshop does have 4 live sessions. So it will be January 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. It is $50. All the sessions are recorded and replays are made available. Bethany just wrapped up her Surviving the Holidays workshop. Now it's available in a home study version for half the price. Clarissa and I did the study, the audit, over the last few years. And from that, we did put together 12 modules based on that research, what we learned and wanted to grow from. And so those are available to you. Again, this is an at your own pace course, and that is $200. And then we have our unlimited monthly group coaching, which is the vast majority of our clients. This is what they do. It's $25 US for the month. There are 5 groups each week, and you can come to as many or as few as you'd like. You can go to our media page and it'll show, you know, you can link to some of the podcasts that we've been on, that kind of thing. But if you go back to the homepage, this is what it looks like if you're just visiting our page. And again, you're going to see all the courses there that are available. Now, if you want to register, you click register, and I've already done that. So I'm going to show you what it looks like once you've registered. And so this is my student view. So still a welcome to. The screen is a bit different, but it has all of the it still has all of those options across the top, but there's a few extras, mainly which one is community. So this is a bit different because instead of seeing all the courses, first you're going to see the courses that you're enrolled in as a student. So if you purchase the Cravings course, that would pop up here. If you purchase you know, group coaching, that would pop up here. And the live workshops. And then if you continue to scroll, you'll see a calendar. Now this calendar will only show the events that are tied to the courses that you're enrolled in. So I'm seeing, because I'm enrolled in group coaching, I see the group coaching options. So coming this Thursday, so tomorrow, there will be 2 meetings. You're seeing it in my time zone, FYI. So when you look at the calendar, it'll show in your time zone. So tomorrow at noon my time, I'll be in group coaching, and then tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I'll be in group coaching. And then if you continue to scroll, again, it gives you the option to see all the courses that are available. And if you scroll all the way down, you can see the community feed. And so over here on the left, you'll see all the communities that you're enrolled in. And some of these are tied to the courses that you're enrolled in. Some of them are available for everybody. We have this one in particular, the nuts and bolts, where people can come and ask questions, right? So somebody asked, can you tell me the name of the app to connect to this? You know, so just a great place to be able to chat, and it's off of social media, which is really important to us, because we feel like social media, you know, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, we don't own those platforms, and the people who do own them are able to censor us and shut us down. And that happens a lot with what we work on, because we work on addiction, we work on eating disorders, we work on recovery, we work on treatment, and these words get flagged a lot. And so we get shadow banned. We moderate Vera's Facebook group with 14,000 people in it, and 400 people see our post when it comes to letting people know about this open house. It makes no sense, but that's what happens with using platforms that don't belong to us. So in a nutshell, that is what our platform looks like. Let me go back into it real quick, because I just realized I didn't show you guys what it might look like. So Bethany, I'm just gonna use your workshop real quick, because we just went through that. So once you're registered and you're a student, so I'm a student in this course, I would click into it, and then I'm gonna see the curriculum. And so I'm just gonna go into the first session, and there's going to be a video that you play. And then there are always going to be like some downloads of some kind. So in Bethany's workshop, you know, I'm going to get the slide deck, but I'm also going to get a tool. And so I can download those, and I can print them off, and I can fill them out as I want. And then we went back in, and the replays of the live sessions we added, so that if you happen to miss that session because you lived in a time zone, or it didn't work for you, or you were working, you could go back in and watch the replay. So I did want to just let you guys see that. A note on the app, there is an app for Zenler, which is the platform from which we host. It is a brand new app, so it has pretty limited capabilities, but it's definitely good for the community, and for, you know, you can watch videos and you can work through some of the curriculum on your app. But it's this platform, as it is right now, is best used from your computer or another device, like like an iPad or a tablet or a Chromebook of some kind. So Bethany, did you have a question?
Just a question from the group. So Andre asked, where do we find the registered sessions? So Andre, do you mean the ones that you have registered for, or ones that you can register for?
When I can't. The one I am registered, but if, let's say I couldn't see it, but I think that Molly answered my question. I want to to see like yesterday's session, but she answered it. So it's
The
okay.
replay. Yes,
Yeah.
the replay. Perfect.
Yes. So Andre, though, if you are in the group coaching, so sorry guys, I hope I'm not making you like dizzy. I'm gonna go back into it real quick. So now I can't see my screen here very well. There's too many bars all over the place here. So if you're logged in, Andre, to the, whoopsies, there we go. Back to curriculum. Okay, go home. Okay, so if you're logged in, you see this screen. And you're in monthly group coaching, you need to register for this course, group coaching recordings. And then from there, you will see the replays. So you can see that they're there. And we're going to, keep a few there at a time. If that makes sense. And if you need that link, I will get that to you.
But what's the difference? It says start. It says start also. Resume and start.
Yeah, so revisit is if you've already watched it or participated in it, and then start as if you haven't seen it.
All right, awesome. Any other questions before we dive into our special guest speaker? Okay, well, I'm excited to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Viktoria Hamma. I met Viktoria about 3 years ago when she came to volunteer at the food bank that I was operating at the time. We immediately became fast friends, not just because she gave me the best massage I've ever had in my life, but also because we were just working together during a shift. And then she started asking me about the vagus nerve. And I was like, where have you come from? I've been looking for someone in Perry Sound my whole life who wants to geek out on health and wellness with me. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to my beautiful smart friend, Vika, who is going to share a little bit about her personal story with sugar addiction or food addiction, and then speak about hypnosis for food addiction, chronic pain, and managing mindset. First, I just wanted you to know that she is she's trained in rapid transformational therapy, hypnotherapy. She has her own private practice where she works in person and virtually at True North Movement in Muskoka. She works at a private addiction treatment center in Ontario, various Indigenous reserves in Canada, and also does contract work with many other organizations. So she helps educate clients on the biopsychosocial aspects of chronic pain and unlocks their ability to reduce their pain, address their addiction issues, and help them meet their wellness goals. She's been featured on many different podcasts and new articles speaking to her experience, helping clients with mindset, chronic pain, and releasing weight for health reasons. Viktoria is a lifelong learner and finds joy in continuing to sharpen and add to her skills. Take it away, Vika.
Thank you so much, Clarissa. I really appreciate it. So I am going to do something a little bit different this time. I know that everybody is muted, but I want to pretend we're not. So to keep you somewhat engaged, because I'm going to do a lot of talking, while I explain all about hypnotherapy and my experience and everything else, anytime that I ask you a question, it's going to be a yes or no question. So I want you to say out loud, or you can leave it in the chat, either a yes or a thumbs up, or say out loud yes. Sound good? I should hear you all saying yes.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay. So to start off a little bit about me. So I struggled with food for a long time, and I really wanted to ignore it for a very long time. In fact, I was very active growing up. So as far as like weight, it was never an issue for a long time, and I was able to kind of keep it under the rug for many, many years and just keep telling myself, it's not an issue, or I've dealt with it, or that was, younger me's problem. So, and I recognize now that I'm older, I was adopted, and my first 2 years of life, I don't really know much about my history, but I do know that there was a bit of food insecurity and possible malnourishment. So coming to Canada, I actually, my first few years of life, I was struggling, and I would hoard food, and I had a lot of food security type of behavior. And as I got older, I kind of grew out of it, but never really. There was still a lot of symptoms that I was working through that, again, I just did not want to recognize as issues with food. I find that in Western society, we like to call it a sweet tooth. That's how we like to, normalize this idea that we have a maybe not healthy relationship with food. So that's what I used to label it as for many years, until most addicts, they come to a breaking point. And I just hit this breaking point where I recognized I'm trying to move on with my life in so many other ways. And this is something that's holding me back. And if I don't address it, I'm never going to be able to grow to the place I need to. So luckily I had an amazing friend who does just that. So Clarissa helped me really, get going on this and was an amazing support. And one of the reasons that I've been able to be so successful. And I mean, I'm just over a year in now. I'm about a year and a half in and enjoying it. I tell clients when they ask me, because obviously there was some physical changes that happened as well as mental changes. And they always ask me, what happened? And I tell them, like, I changed my relationship with food. That's really what happened. Is I'm not shackled to the emotions and feelings and patterns of behavior that I used to be with food. So, big shout out to Sweet Sobriety already. They definitely helped me change my life in that way. And I feel like it was a starting point for me to, really jump off into a lot of other things. So as Clarissa mentioned, I do a few different things. I am a certified hypnotherapist through Rapid Transformational Therapy. I do massage therapy. I do personal training. So I do a few different things, and I've kind of melded it all together into some chronic pain and wellness coaching. And I'm really passionate about helping people get out of that stuck mindset and that place where you just don't know where else to go. And I think that, we often invest in so many other things, trying to get us these quick solutions. And nowadays, with the way society and marketing is, it's all about the 7-day fix for this, that, and the other thing. And the reality is it's never that quick, because as I learned in hypnotherapy, a lot of what we're doing is pattern behavior. So we're here to talk about food and hypnotherapy. Yes?
Yes.
See the nods. Good.
Yes.
And we know already that our mind is powerful. Yes? We can all
Yes.
agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we already do a lot of daily activities, such as, deciding to breathe, controlling our blood pressure, contracting and relaxing muscles for movement, and swallowing without even thinking about it. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
And I think almost all of us with some kind of food addiction or an unhealthy relationship with food share a similar symptom of we often eat or make food choices without thinking, at least at the beginning of our journey. And it can become almost like a compulsion or something we don't consciously think about. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So let's talk about a bit more about why. So you have your conscious mind, you have your subconscious mind. Now, we are in our subconscious mind 90% of the time, because our subconscious mind is our autonomous, automatic programming. It's like a computer program, right? You have everything running in the background so that we can actually see a Zoom video. And to be honest, unless you're like a really techie person, you don't even understand what's happening in the background, because it's been layer on layer on layer on layer built to be able to create the experience we're having now. So this is very much like the brain. This subconscious part of us is running so many things because for a few reasons. One, because metabolically, it is the most effective for our body. And our body is always looking for the most efficient and effective way to do something. And if it can become an automatic process, that is functionally the easiest way that requires the least amount of energy. And this is why we get these patterns that become incredibly ingrained in us. And when we try and make changes, we get a lot of resistance, not just mentally, but sometimes, if you've ever taken a new course, like one of the Sweet Sobriety courses, you might actually notice that you're physically a bit tired just from learning. And that's because when our brain is making new connections, it actually requires more metabolic energy. So it's a conscious choice to make that learning happen. but subconsciously our brain wants to go back to our automatic processes. So this can feel a little bit defeating, but don't worry, this is actually where hypnotherapy can be incredibly beneficial. So there's different types of, like, hypnotherapy teaches a lot of different things. And I see a hand up. There's going to be a lot we're going to go through, so I'm going to try and rush through it a bit just so we can get some content. And then if you have questions, throw them in the chat. And then one of the Sweet Sobriety ladies can kind of ask me them at the end, if that's okay. So with hypnosis for mindful eating, we kind of teach the mind to be more aware of our cravings, of how we feel when we're full, and the actual even act of eating. So hypnosis for mindful eating actually allows us to recognize our cravings and physical feelings of hunger and to be thoughtful of that eating. And that's one of the ways we can actually help to gain power over our food and our cravings. Because if you're not even noticing you're doing something, you can't address it. You have to notice it first. And of course, we know, like, our eating habits and our relationship with food is also perpetuated by a number of other things like depression, anxiety, lack of self-love, just to name a few. But hypnosis can actually empower us to manage and move past some of these conditions. So I want to talk quickly about kind of the rules of the mind that hypnosis kind of operates with. So there's a few different kind of principles that is where hypnosis grew out of, and it's why we use certain things in hypnosis to get our subconscious mind to kind of cooperate with us versus seemingly work against us. And once you can understand why the subconscious is doing what it's doing, you're a little bit more gentle towards yourself when you have a response that you think is not the response you want. But secondly, if you don't understand what the subconscious is trying to accomplish, you can't do anything to change it. So one of the rules is that every thought you have creates a physical reaction. This is important, and it's one that sometimes people struggle to wrap their mind around because it's not a very tangible, and it's a very overarching kind of comment. So I always use the example of when you're anxious or you're feeling stressed out, your heart rate actually increases. And that's a biological response to a thought, feeling, emotion, or experience. So that is just one of many that happen, but it's happening all the time, that what we're experiencing has a biochemical reaction in our body. And every thought or feeling or emotion we have is going to have a physical reaction, because that's what our nervous system does, is it prepares us for what we need to, experience next. Second rule is what you expect tends to happen, whether it's good or bad. So this is kind of this idea of the self-fulfilling prophecy. We have that saying where whatever you believe is going to happen is going to happen, but we don't talk about the why of that. So we become what we think about. The brain and the nervous system actually responds to our mental images. So if you create an image in your mind of what's going to happen, and let's say, you're going into work and there's going to be a work party for this girl named Linda, and you don't like Linda because Linda's not very nice, and Linda's usually mean to you. You, before you even walk into that room, have already created a mental picture that is very vivid and a mental story to go with it. Because you've created that mental image and that mental story, your reactions and the way you hold your body, the way the tone you use, your body language you give off is all going to reflect the mental image and story you've already told yourself, which is in turn going to change the experience that you have. So if you're already expecting Linda to be mean to you and you walk into the room and Linda says hi, you might already respond in a way that the next thing Linda says is mean. And that's a really simple example, but it is one of those things where if you decide what the outcome's going to be, you're likely to be right. And your brain wants you to be right, because again, then it's an autonomous thing that's happening. It's something in the background. It's something that doesn't need metabolic energy. So another rule is your imagination is more powerful, and emotions are more powerful than reason or knowledge. So all of us logical people hate this one, because we want to logic our way out of everything. We want to be able to be intellectual and to think through it, and that's going to be powerful. But if I ask you any of your memories are not based off of intellect. They're based off of an emotion or a feeling or experience you had. And the most powerful memories are the ones that are most emotionally charged. They're the ones that, our body holds on to the most because our mind connects much more powerfully to that emotion than it actually ever does to the reasoning or, knowledge behind that experience, which is why we struggle sometimes when we're trying to work through some issues and trauma and everything. Sometimes we can intellectually deal with it, but our subconscious hasn't dealt with it because there's still an emotion behind that hasn't been heard or dealt with. And when you are really logical, it's hard sometimes to access that emotion in your conscious mind because you're so logical all the time. You don't allow that subconscious or emotional piece to ever come through. And what's amazing is that our body actually doesn't differentiate between what is real and what's imagined. It's the same thing in our body. So your body will produce whatever your mind believes. And what's absolutely amazing about this is that in a lot of hypnotherapy, we've actually seen people who have their body has created a lot of physical symptoms because of a mental feeling or emotion or trauma or experience. And they've never connected the two because they want to believe in that logical mind being the more powerful. Rule number 4, what we think we create. And what we create has to be founded in our values and our beliefs. So we can't have opposing thoughts. The mind cannot hold opposing thoughts. And this is a challenging one because what we can believe consciously cannot be what we actually believe subconsciously. And a really, really simple but often powerful example is you can believe that you're good enough for this promotion, but your subconscious belief is that you're not enough. And the theme of I don't feel enough, I don't feel beautiful enough, I don't feel worthy enough, I don't feel important enough, whatever it is a theme that I would say almost everyone struggles with on some level. And it's something we all have to kind of address and recognize as something we need to work on healing in ourselves. But when we have those opposing ideas, they can't sit in unison because they're diametrically opposing. They can't, the brain doesn't want, it can't understand how to have both in harmony. So it chooses the one that has been there the longest or the one that is there the strongest. So rule 5 is ideas remain until replaced. So I've been talking a lot about things that have happened to us, and it sounds a little bit foreboding and a little bit depressing, to be honest, because it sounds a bit scary, like we almost can't do anything. But the reality is those ideas only stay there as long as they're the main idea. We can replace those ideas. We just need the tools to do so. And hypnotherapy can sometimes be one of that tool because we can go back and allow that subconscious to reframe the situation so it understands a different outcome. And what goes with that idea is also the repetition. Our minds love repetition because repetition encourages those automatic pathways. And this is why, and I mean, when I work with clients with addictions and I work a lot with substance abuse, they often, when they've been in the program for a while, they can start to get frustrated and say like, oh, it's all the same stuff. And I always say, yeah, it's supposed to be. Because again, intellectually, you may have understood it, but it is going to take a lot of repetition for you to be able to live it and to actually utilize it as a skill and a tool. So it's the repetition that creates the lasting pattern. Rule 6 is that emotions can have physical consequences. And, consequences is a really harsh term, but I think it's adequate because when we have an emotionally induced symptom, it tends to cause organic change if it persists long enough. And so you see this, people who have chronic anxiety often have high blood pressure, often have, other conditions that become an organic cause of their originating symptom. So we can't just leave these symptoms and these emotions to stay because, there's a great quote that says, emotions buried alive will never die. And they will come back and come back and come back. And I mean, I see it all the time with a lot of gut disorders. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard, or if you've done some interesting research or listened to Clarissa and Molly's podcast, the gut brain is incredibly powerful, and it is considered our second brain. And there's a lot of communication that happens between your mind and your gut brain, and the communication going between. And oftentimes the two are asking each other if they have the right information. So if you keep that emotion, your body's going to assume that it's getting the right information. So we're almost done. Rule 7, suggestions lead to greater acceptance. So each suggestion that you act upon lays the foundation for the next suggestion to take hold. So it's funny because whenever I hear people who say they don't believe in hypnotherapy, I kind of try to explain we do a lot of suggestive work. Why? Because suggestions work. And if you don't believe this, then you don't understand how marketing works. I mean, nobody knew they needed an Apple Watch until Apple kept suggesting that we need to be able to answer the phone from our wrist and not the cell phone in our pocket. It was more important that we could answer it from our wrist than anything else. And they suggested it enough that, guess what? Now people think that that's important. It's not to say it's not, maybe, but it's a suggestion that we were given, and it was given enough, and it aligned with what we already believed, that we accepted it, and now we will be more easily suggestible to anything else they offer us. And unfortunately, this also happens all the time in the world of big food. How often does the marketing of food play on emotions and repetitive suggestion? So this is why it can be really challenging when you're trying to break some of those habits, because you're working against how your mind is programmed. So you have to essentially reprogram it with better suggestions. And finally, this one is really a bit abstract, but it will make sense. Conscious effort reduces your subconscious engagement. This is why when you try and force your brain to figure it out, it does not work. How many times have you lost your keys or your phone and you've said, where, and you're trying to force your brain, where is it? It's somewhere in the house. Where is it? And the more you think about it, the harder and fuzzier everything gets, because it's not your conscious mind that knows where it is, because your conscious mind doesn't need to remember it, because your subconscious knows where it is. However, when you are trying to consciously engage, that's when your subconscious isn't allowed to have a role. The moment you step away, maybe you make a coffee or you do whatever, all of a sudden you're like, oh, right, that's where my keys are. Because your subconscious mind was given the opportunity to respond and give you the answer you're looking for. So I actually use this all the time when I misplace something, and it's amazing how well it works. I literally say to myself, if I'm looking for something, I'll say, oh man, where did I set my phone down? I stop and say, my brain knows exactly where I set my phone down. I'm going to let it tell me. And then I walk off and do something else. And sure enough, I walk over and grab my phone. So this comes back to this idea of, trying to be forceful with something, and every force we try and create, physics says that there is counterforce that will be given to us. And it's this duality and this balance that, in every aspect of science, religion, spirituality, it always talks about balance and forces in, coincidence. And this is the mind and the subconscious mind. So that is the principles that we work off for hypnotherapy. Now, I wanted to give everybody, because I am that really sciencey, logical mind, so I need to know that what I'm saying is true and it works. So I'm going to give you guys a few statistics. The statistics I pulled up are based off of opioid and drug and alcohol use, because the metrics for measuring anything with food right now with hypnotherapy currently are mostly measured off of weight loss or gain, which I don't think the goal or focus should be. And so instead, I'm going to give you these statistics, because the reality is, as we know, food is very much like a drug addiction. So here's a couple for you guys. So there was a study called Intensive Therapy Utilizing Hypnosis in the Treatment of Substance Abuse Disorder. The approach described used hypnosis for treatment, and it was borrowed from other studies effectively treating alcoholism by using intensive daily sessions combined with more intensive treatments of 20 daily sessions with hypnosis is a successful method to treat addictions. The treatment has been used with clients 18 and over the last 7 years and has showed a 77% success rate for at least 1 year follow-up. So if you know the addiction community for substance abuse, these statistics are not that good. In 2003, a German scientist found that hypnotism was almost twice more effective than therapy alone for most psychosomatic illnesses, test anxiety, and nicotine addiction. The success rate raised from 37% to 64% in patients that underwent hypnotherapy as part of their comprehensive treatment plan. In a study of 18 patients completed in 2004, showed that participants receiving intensive daily hypnosis sessions had a 77% success rate after a 1 year follow-up. And finally, my favorite one is of the study, there was a study called Group Hypnosis for Drug Addicts, which looks at using hypnotherapy to treat people who have an opioid use disorder. The goal of the treatment was to reduce or eliminate the participants' use of heroin and other street drugs. Of the study participants who received hypnotherapy, 90% completed treatment. And within 6 months, 100% of those were still off drugs. And 78% remained abstinent at the 2-year mark. So, you know, people always ask me, does hypnotherapy work? It does, but it's not a miracle cure. So sometimes people think, I'm going to get this hypnosis and then I'm going to immediately not want sugar. That's not how the brain works. It takes repetition. But what hypnotherapy really helps to do is it helps plant the seed, and it helps to really get behind some of the layers of what is driving that behavior that we may not subconsciously recognize. So that's how I utilize hypnotherapy in my sessions, is to really recognize what is the driving factor behind that behavior, behind that emotion, and then how can we heal that? So I've done enough talking. I am free to open it up to questions if anybody has any questions.
Because there was a question in the chat wondering if you offer services to the US.
I do, yes. So I do virtual as well as in person. So you can check out my website at www.viktoriahamma.com. I will throw it into the chat as well. But stay tuned, because I have a feeling we might have a sweet sobriety hypnotherapy course coming to you in the new year. There has been some chats about that. So I do individual. I also do group sessions. Group sessions are obviously less individualized, but they're really great for obviously being able to repeat a lot of that information and a lot of those ideas that you want to repeat to get the repetition you need to be successful. So yeah, on my website, you'll find that information. I always do a consultation first. That's always free, because I need to understand what it is we're actually looking to address, because the reality is I know I can't help everybody. And if there's somebody I think that you'll be better suited to, I'd rather give you their information, because, you know, at the end of the day, there's somebody for everyone, and we can't be everyone for everyone. And rule 1, was thought creates a physical reaction.
So somebody's asking, so if it works for food addiction, how could we utilize hypnotherapy sessions to support our addiction journey in conjunction with our sessions with Sweet Sobriety and our addiction counselor sessions with Molly, Clarissa, right? Any of our individuals. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, we would have that consult so we can talk about what it is you're looking to achieve. Where it is you feel like you're stuck is a big piece as well, because sometimes people think, well, my issue is that I always want chocolate at night and I just need to stop that. Okay, well, why do you want chocolate at night? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, then what we need to do before I can figure out is, you know, we can't really address it until we know why that's being driven. And sometimes what's really fascinating about hypnotherapy is we can actually go back into what are called regressions. So we actually go back in your timeline to younger you, and your subconscious, when you're in this like relaxed, hypnosis is essentially, it's called a trance, but you're in this relaxed theta brainwave, where if you've ever been falling asleep and then you can kind of hear what's going on around you, but you're kind of asleep, that's essentially a trance state. So you actually go into a hypnotic trance state many times a day. Another one that people recognize is when they're driving in the car and all of a sudden they're like, oh shoot, that was my exit. And like, again, in theory, you were driving your vehicle with, so that's your subconscious mind took over and it was driving, it was doing the automatic thing. It was the conscious piece of what exit you needed that you weren't able to do because you were in a trance state. So the first step is always figuring out what it is. So oftentimes I recommend to people will do at least one session. I always like to do a kind of about you so I can figure out your history and all the things that could contribute to it. Once we do our one session, it's usually I ask you where you want to direct it. From there, whatever comes up, I kind of talk to you at the end of the session. Okay, maybe next time we should focus more on this area or this area. I often really recommend that with hypnotherapy, you have a team with you supporting you, because it can sometimes bring up some pretty intense emotions. And you can be in that kind of intense emotional state for a day or two because it's processing stuff that you're not consciously recognizing, you know? So it can bring up emotions, but I find that once you're able to work through those emotions, that's where you get the breakthrough. And that's where you can actually say with your, appointments with Molly or Clarissa or Bethany, or Jennifer, you can actually say, hey, this came up. I want to talk more about this. So sometimes it can be really helpful in that way. Very interesting information. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, no, honestly, so everything with hypnotherapy is absolutely amazing. I love it. And like I said, feel free to check me out online and send me a message on Instagram. If you have questions, at the end of the day, I just do really love helping people get themselves better.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So if you do the hypnotherapy and you go through, like, I guess the back of childhood and whatever's stopping you from getting stuck and doing the same thing over and over again, that's how you find out what's going on. And then you do, I'm just trying to understand hypnotherapy. Then do we have tapes and things we listen to get us over that hump? Because you said one of the things you said was repetition is what fixes this, and then we're going to take this feeling, once we've figured out how I'm coming up with this, then replace it with something that's going to give me better tools
100%.
or better stuff to move on. So there's something that you have to listen, you have to practice. Is that what you mean by continuous therapy, or each therapy is different? And do we listen to the tapes and stuff while we don't see you for the next week?
Yep. So so that's how I like to do it. Is I will either give you like a list of things like affirmations or specific things I want you to say out loud to yourself every day, or depending, sometimes I'll do a pre-recorded hypnotherapy for you that's based off of our session. So then you can listen to it again. And it depends, like some people were dealing with a lot of different stuff, right? Some people it's really easy, and it's just one session and we're pretty good. And you just listen to the recording whenever you're feeling like you need that extra motivation and you're following up with your other stuff. And it's excellent. Other people, we do one session and then in that session, a whole nother topic comes up. And a good example of this is I had a client who wanted to quit biting their fingernails. She had done hypnotherapy before. It was a slightly different style. So we did hypnotherapy. In her hypnotherapy session, it kept coming up that her subconscious was essentially saying, I bite my nails because I'm weak, because I'm a woman. And again, to the logical mind, you're like, that makes zero sense. Like, that's really silly. But it doesn't matter, because our subconscious mind has made this association that for some reason, there's something in our history that says we're a woman and we're weak and we need to continue to create our weakness. So we need to bite our nails so that we can continue to be weak. Because we're a woman, we can't be strong. And the nails signify, if they were to grow back, that signifies strength to the subconscious mind. And so again, we did the session on nail biting, but really we needed to do a second session on why we feel we're weak as a woman. So in her treatment, I did do the affirmations of, all the nail biting stuff to grow your nails, but I threw in and sprinkled in a little bit more of that. I'm strong and capable and everything else. It's not really a fix. We need to uncover a little bit more about that, but that's why it's hard to know exactly what hypnotherapy is going to give you until we really know what's sitting there.
Wow. I'm a basket case, so I think there's a lot to talk about. Thank you.
No worries. It's okay. We all have stuff. And you know what? I didn't even realize how much stuff I had until I started working through things. And then, you're doing well, and then you hit this bump in the road, and it really just gives you this opportunity to see where else you need to grow. And I think when you can reframe it as, instead of something bad is happening, it's this opportunity to see, oh, I think I need to do a little bit more work in that area. It allows you to have less guilt and shame about, the fact that you're not perfect.
Yeah, life is like a growing journey. That's all we do. So does anyone have
There's
any other-
another question in the
Oh,
chat.
good.
Sorry.
Oh, go.
Okay. Could hypnotherapy help with sleep habits? I have a really hard time getting to sleep at a decent time. And we know that getting a good night's sleep is crucial to getting to and maintaining good health. Could your therapy help me stop sabotaging my sleep routines?
Yeah, definitely. So it's cool. So there's a few different things I do for sleep, because I do wellness coaching as well. Sometimes once I talk to you, I realize it's more just about understanding sleep hygiene better. So, understanding your circadian rhythm, the hormones, how they get released. And we can sometimes just make really simple tweaks, and it may not be a hypnotherapy necessarily. But if it is, hypnotherapy is incredibly relaxing. So oftentimes you do want to just fall asleep afterwards anyways. So it is really nice just to relax the body, relax the nervous system. In that, even just that way, it's very helpful. But if there's a specific reason behind why you're not falling asleep, whether it's the inability to shut down some of those negative thoughts or that self-criticism or whatever else, that's a perfect example of how we use hypnotherapy to kind of help that. So yes, it could help for sure. And again, if you're curious, do some breathing exercises. If breathing exercises help you fall asleep at night, it's probably because you just need to relax your nervous system, focus on meditation, all those other coping skills. Maybe it's not hypnotherapy that's going to be the make or break. But this is why I do a consultation, because it's never as easy as this is the fix, right? And I think anybody who preaches that you have to be a bit scary and worried about, because everybody's individual.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any questions for Vika, or any questions about sweet sobriety?
We did such a good job of explaining everything.
Well, you did do the demonstration. It was pretty powerful.
Well, obviously, if you guys do have more questions, Vika threw her website in the chat. You guys can email us, which I'm putting in the chat now too.
Perfect.
This is our website that I was showing you guys. And just like Vika said for herself, to find her on social media or whatever, if you guys need us to connect you to her, we can do that as well. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever. So feel free to message us, and we will get back to you. And hopefully, just like Vika said, whether it's our services or not, we are here to try to connect you with whoever we think might be a better fit for you if it's not us. So
Yeah.
just let us know if there's something you need.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight, everyone.
If you like what you heard today, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.